Kim Sae Ron, a beloved South Korean actress, captivated audiences from childhood with her raw talent in films like The Man from Nowhere, 2010, and A Brand New Life, 2009. However, by 2025, her career had dwindled, and on February 16, 2025, she was found dead in her home at just 24 years old. The circumstances surrounding her death raised alarming questions about the dark side of the Kpop and entertainment industry, pressure, exploitation, and the sinister influence of powerful figures. The events of February 16, 2025, began with growing unease as Kim Sae Ron's close friend found themselves unable to reach the actress for an unusual stretch of time. The friend had last spoken with Kim 3 days prior, and what started as mild concern escalated when repeated calls and text messages went unanswered throughout the morning. By 3:17 p.m., after yet another failed attempt to make contact, the friend made the difficult decision to notify authorities, fearing something was terribly wrong. Police were dispatched to Kim's apartment in Seoul, an upscale residence in a building known for housing celebrities. Officers arrived just before 4 p.m. and, after consulting with building security, confirmed that there had been no recent activity from her unit. Using emergency access, they entered the apartment, which was eerily still. No sounds of movement, no lights left on, just an unsettling silence. The discovery came moments later. Kim was found in her bedroom, lying on the bed, her expression disturbingly calm. There were no immediate signs of violence, no overturned furniture, no defensive wounds, no indication that anyone else had been in the room. The door had been locked from the inside, the windows secure. Her phone, resting on the nightstand, showed dozens of missed calls from her friend, but no final message or note left behind. With no evidence of forced entry or struggle, investigators quickly leaned toward the possibility of suicide. Yet the absence of any clear method, no pills, no visible means, left lingering questions. The date itself added another layer of grim significance. February 16th was the birthday of her ex-boyfriend, a detail that would later fuel speculation about the timing of her death. Authorities moved swiftly to secure the scene, but even in those first hours, whispers began. Was this truly a personal tragedy, or were there darker forces at play? As investigators pieced together the timeline of Kim Sae Ron's final days, one detail sent a ripple of unease through the case: the date of her death. February 16th wasn't just another day on the calendar. It marked the birthday of her former boyfriend, a fact that immediately raised questions about whether her passing had been a carefully timed gesture. The coincidence was too stark to ignore, leading many to wonder if this had been a final, heartbreaking message to someone who had once been deeply important in her life. Rumors swirled about the nature of their past relationship. Had it ended badly? Was there unresolved pain that had lingered? Police remained tight-lipped about whether they had uncovered any personal writings or digital traces that might explain her state of mind in those final hours. The absence of a suicide note only deepened the mystery. Some speculated that if she had left any private clues, they might have been hidden in places only certain people would know to look. Perhaps in old text threads, draft emails, or even coded social media posts from weeks prior. The timing also fueled darker theories among those familiar with the entertainment industry's pressures. Could this have been more than just personal despair? Was the date chosen not just for private symbolism, but as a silent indictment of the industry's cutthroat expectations? Without official confirmation, the questions hung heavy in the air, leaving room for both grief and suspicion to intertwine. Friends and fans alike were left to grapple with the unsettling possibility that even in her final act, Kim Sae Ron might have been trying to say something no one had fully heard in life. Kim Sae Ron's journey in the entertainment industry began almost as soon as she could walk. Born on July 31st, 2000, she was scouted as a baby model at just 1 year old, her bright eyes and expressive face making her a favorite for commercials and print ads. By the time she turned 9, she had transitioned into acting, landing her breakthrough role in the 2009 film, A Brand New Life. Critics immediately took notice of her natural talent, praising her ability to convey deep emotion far beyond her years. Her performance in The Man from Nowhere, 2010, alongside veteran actor Won Bin, cemented her status as one of South Korea's most promising child stars, with audiences and directors alike marveling at her maturity on screen. For over a decade, she balanced school and acting, growing up in the spotlight while maintaining a reputation as a dedicated professional. But in May 2022, everything changed. A late-night drunk driving incident, where she crashed into a guardrail and fled the scene, sparked public outrage. Though no one was hurt, the scandal tarnished her previously pristine image. The fallout was swift. Endorsements were dropped, upcoming projects quietly distanced themselves, and Netflix removed her from promotional materials for Bloodhounds, despite her scenes having already been filmed. The industry that had once celebrated her now turned cold, leaving her career in limbo. While other celebrities had bounced back from similar scandals, Kim Sae Ron found herself inexplicably blacklisted, unable to regain her former standing, a harsh reality that left many questioning whether there were unseen forces at work behind her professional exile. Behind the scenes of Kim Sae Ron's sudden fall from grace, troubling whispers began circulating among industry insiders. While drunk driving scandals were far from uncommon in South Korea's entertainment world, with numerous celebrities eventually returning to public favor after a period of reflection, her case was different. Despite issuing a sincere public apology and completing court-mandated community service, doors remained firmly closed to her. Seasoned managers and producers quietly confided to colleagues that something more than public backlash was at play. There were hints that influential figures had actively worked to keep her from returning to the spotlight. Unlike other stars who faced similar controversies but eventually resumed their careers after a strategic hiatus, Kim found herself inexplicably frozen out. Casting directors who had previously fought to work with her suddenly became evasive, and projects that had shown interest mysteriously went silent after initial discussions. Veteran reporters noted how unusually thorough her exclusion was. Even minor roles or guest appearances seemed impossible to secure. Some speculated that her refusal to comply with certain unspoken industry demands during her peak years may have made her a target, while others suggested her DUI incident had simply provided a convenient excuse for powerful figures to remove a star who had become inconvenient for reasons the public would never know. The most unsettling aspect was how systematically her opportunities evaporated. While social media outrage eventually fades for most celebrities, in Kim's case, the silence from networks, studios, and sponsors felt deliberate, as if an invisible hand was ensuring she wouldn't get a second chance. This pattern led many to question whether her professional exile was less about punishment for a mistake and more about sending a message. One that served as a grim reminder of how quickly even the most promising careers could be derailed when certain lines were crossed in an industry where power often operated in shadows rather than spotlights. The glittering facade of South Korea's entertainment industry often conceals a far darker reality, one that former trainees and actors have begun exposing in recent years. Behind the polished performances and flawless visuals lie disturbing accounts of exploitation, grueling slave contracts that bind young artists to agencies for decades, psychological manipulation designed to break down resistance, and whispered stories of sexual coercion masked as networking opportunities. Many who enter this world as children find themselves trapped in a system that demands perfection while offering little protection. Given this troubling context, questions inevitably arose about whether Kim Sae Ron's tragic end was simply personal despair or the final consequence of an industry that consumes its brightest stars. In the weeks following her death, troubling rumors emerged from anonymous industry insiders. These unverified but persistent accounts suggested that Kim's career collapse wasn't just about her DUI incident, but rather a targeted takedown orchestrated by powerful figures. Some sources hinted she had refused to comply with certain expectations, whether social obligations with influential sponsors or creative compromises on projects. Others speculated more darkly that she might have possessed damaging knowledge about industry secrets, making her continued presence a liability. The speed and completeness with which she became professionally radioactive seemed, to many observers, disproportionate to her transgression, especially in an entertainment landscape where male stars often resume careers after far more serious scandals. The entertainment industry's history of silencing dissent added weight to these theories. From the tragic case of Jang Ja-yeon, whose suicide note exposed systemic abuse, to the deaths of Sulli and Goo Hara following relentless online harassment, South Korea's entertainment world has repeatedly shown its capacity to destroy those who struggle under its pressures. While no concrete evidence emerged directly linking Kim's death to industry malfeasance, the pattern was familiar enough to raise uncomfortable questions. Had her refusal to play by unwritten rules marked her for professional destruction? Was her eventual fate an extreme example of what happens when individuals can no longer bear the weight of an industry that demands everything, yet offers little support in return? These unanswered questions continued to haunt both her memory and the industry she once illuminated. In the wake of Kim Sae Ron's shocking death, an outpouring of grief and anger swept across social media platforms. Fans and concerned netizens rallied under hashtags like #Justice for Sae Ron, calling for transparency and a more thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding her passing. Many drew disturbing parallels to other young Korean entertainers who had met tragic ends under similarly mysterious circumstances. Jang Ja-yeon's 2009 suicide that exposed industry abuse, Sulli's 2019 death following years of cyberbullying, and Goo Hara's passing just weeks later. These heartbreaking precedents fueled growing suspicion that Kim's case might represent yet another systemic failure in an industry notorious for its cutthroat environment and lack of safeguards for vulnerable young stars. The official police response did little to quell these concerns. While authorities were quick to declare the death a suicide, their reluctance to release detailed findings raised eyebrows. No comprehensive autopsy report was made public, and key questions about her final days remained unanswered. Why had there been no apparent cry for help? Were there deleted messages or erased digital traces that might have shed light on her state of mind? More troublingly, some journalists noted unusual resistance when attempting to investigate potential industry connections. Sources suddenly became unavailable, and certain media outlets appeared to downplay the story unusually quickly. This conspicuous lack of transparency inevitably led to speculation about possible cover-ups or external pressures being applied to contain the narrative. Whether these suspicions had merit or were simply products of collective grief and frustration, they underscored the deep mistrust many Koreans now felt toward an entertainment industry that had repeatedly failed to protect its brightest stars from destruction. Kim Sae Ron's untimely death leaves behind more than just grief. It exposes the rot festering beneath the glamorous surface of Korea's entertainment industry. Her story echoes with unsettling familiarity, joining a growing list of young stars whose brilliance was extinguished too soon. While officials were quick to file this as another tragic suicide, the circumstances whisper of deeper, darker truths. The suspicious timing coinciding with her ex-boyfriend's birthday, the systematic destruction of her career following a single mistake, and the industry's eerie silence in the aftermath, all these elements combine to paint a picture far more complex than simple personal despair. The parallels to previous cases are impossible to ignore. Like Jang Ja-yeon's suicide note that exposed industry abuse, like Sulli's struggle against relentless cyberbullying, and like Goo Hara's final cries for help, Kim's fate feels like part of a recurring nightmare. Each time, the public outrage flares, the promises of reform are made, yet the system continues consuming its young. What makes Kim's case particularly haunting is how her downfall followed the classic pattern: early stardom, a sudden fall from grace, and then complete erasure from the industry that once celebrated her. As the hashtags fade and the news cycles move on, uncomfortable questions remain unanswered. Why did such a promising career unravel so completely after one mistake, when worse transgressions by male stars are routinely forgiven? What invisible forces ensured she could never work again? And most disturbingly, was her final act truly her own choice, or the inevitable conclusion when a system offers no way back? Until these questions are properly addressed, Kim Sae Ron's legacy will stand as both a cautionary tale and an indictment of an entertainment culture that too often destroys what it claims to cherish. Her death, like those before her, demands more than mourning. It demands accountability that, so far, no one has been willing to provide. Kim Sae Ron's tragic story is more than just another celebrity death. It is a mirror held up to an industry that demands perfection but offers no mercy. Behind the dazzling performances, flawless visuals, and carefully curated public personas lies a world where young stars are treated as disposable commodities. The relentless pressure to maintain an impeccable image, the cutthroat competition, and the unspoken rules enforced by those in power create an environment where one misstep can lead to professional annihilation. What makes her case so haunting is not just the loss of a talented actress, but the way her downfall followed a disturbingly familiar script. The swiftness with which she was cast aside after her DUI scandal, the eerie silence from industry insiders after her death, and the unanswered questions surrounding her final days all point to a system designed to protect itself at any cost. The fact that her death coincided with her ex-boyfriend's birthday adds another layer of melancholy. Was it a final, desperate act of symbolism, or merely a cruel coincidence? The entertainment industry thrives on selling dreams, but for too many, those dreams become nightmares. Kim Sae Ron's fate forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about fame, power, and the price of success in a world that discards its stars as easily as it creates them. Until real change happens, until the industry prioritizes humanity over profit, her name will remain on a growing list of talents lost too soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more shocking true crime stories from around the world. Until next time, stay safe and stay vigilant. This is Crime Tales Across Times, signing off.